Hi, Arthur Chadbourne here. You know, this thing in the news with Britney Spears really is quite a tragedy. But actually, it can be seen readily in the chart. This woman is really quite troubled. And we can see this if we look at her chart, and I think I'd like to show you this a little bit later. But let's go back 243 BC. Greece was in power. Astrologers were stargazers, literally. And what they would do is they would watch the stars rise, culminate, and set. And if any planets were activating these stars, this would give them some form of prognostication, or at least let them know what to tell the king on the following day or any client thereafter. Now, Ptolemy was in power, and Berenice, Ptolemy's sister, her husband was off to war. And as she anxiously awaited his return, she would pray to the goddess Aphrodite every night for his safe return to her. And it occurred to her one evening that one of the things that she could do was make a sacrifice. Now, a sacrifice in those days meant that you had to give one of the gods something that you cherished. And what Berenice did was an act really quite distinguished for that time. You see, a noble's hair was the most important thing that they had because it designated their rank. The shorter the hair, the lesser the rank. The longer their hair, of course, the longer the rank. And Berenice has quite some locks. But what she had done is she shorn her head bald and had placed all of her tresses on the altar for Aphrodite to show Aphrodite how sincere her pleas for her husband's return were. Now, what's interesting here is when we look at the chart, you'll notice that we see Saturn sitting at 19 degrees Libra. The star Diadem at 19 degrees Libra is the star that represents one's shorn locks. It is associated with the very story I just told you. Looking at Britney's chart, we see here that 16 degrees on the very left side of the chart is her life vitality point. This is where life pours through into the entity. And at 16 degrees, we can see that there's a lot of energy here. It's in the balance. It's right in the balance. And Libra is in the balance. So this energy now is going awry. It's going amok, you might say. Why? Well, you can see Saturn right there below that at 19 degrees. That's Diadem. That's the planet on the star we just talked about, making her do these crazy things, cutting her hair. Saturn is penance. And when we look at penance, we understand that sometimes the greatest sacrifice, the greatest circumstance of life that to make is to cut one's life out. Suicide is not just an option. It's the aim. And so with Saturn here going over that point of vitality, she's in serious trouble. And I think that we need to take a strong look at her and understand that this is not idle. She's not doing this as an idle threat. She's hurting, and she wants people to know she's hurting. How do we see that hurt? Well, if we go back down here to Venus in the bottom of the chart, we'll see that Venus is right next to the south node. That south node takes, it doesn't give. It's an attritional position in the chart. It's a point that does not lend any kind of help whatsoever. But with Venus sitting right next to it in conjunction like that, what we're looking at is a person who feels that any kind of love or outpouring of love, it's taken from her. She has to give, but she doesn't get anything back. No matter how she works it, no matter how she looks at it, it's not enough. So K-Fed's got himself a real job here trying to make himself heard that, hey, I love you. She doesn't hear that. This is a real problem with this Venus on the south node. It's attritional. And so she needs to see that people really do love her. She needs an outpouring. She needs to hear from all her fans. She needs fan mail. She needs her family. She needs people there constantly telling her how much they love her. She needs this. This is very important for her. The other thing we look at is when we look at the 7th house, we see that that's That's K-Fed over here. This is her husband. This is the 7th house. The ruler of Aries is in her 12th. She perceives him as hurting her. She perceives him as being unfaithful, untrue, anything that is wrong. She just sees him working behind the scenes all the time with this. Working behind the scenes means just that. She does not know all there is to know. Even if she did, she wouldn't believe it. Mars in the 12th house on a personal level is a very naughty position. It's a kind of a situation where people will shoot themselves in the foot, configuratively, where someone thinks, well, I'll try this, but it's wrong. They shoot themselves in the foot. They constantly make bad choices, bad mistakes. And that Mars there is exactly what that's all about. She's having a real problem. And with Saturn going over her point of vitality, Mars in the 12th house, this lady needs a lot of attention until these planets get out of these positions and start rising to a more prominent place. If she can see this through for the next 6 months, she's going to be out of the woods. But I think it's going to take at least that long. So here's looking at you, and here's looking at the chart, and here's hoping that Britney will pull out of this a much stronger, much healthier person, and a much bigger star. And may she find that we all truly do love her very much. I'll talk to you later.